Hello. We all good, everyone? We all good? I think I'm live. There we are. There's always that delay. There's always that little delay. I'm like, am I live? Am I not live? How's it going, everyone? Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hope you're good. Put me on the big TV. Ooh. On the 65-inch, eh? Hey, everyone. Hey, Carl. Welcome for rejoining the pit crew, buddy. Much appreciated. I did see that. I'm good, actually. A little bit of a niggle cough, a little bit of a runny nose. You know, having a little one and all. They catch stuff left, right, and centre. So yeah, but no, I've been very well, thank you. Hope you've enjoyed your time off in the off season. And it seems like it's been no time whatsoever and we're back underway. So I thought with testing getting underway, or private testing, the Shakedown happening this week in Barcelona, 5 days worth. Of course, you can only participate in three of those days, so not everyone is turning up for Monday. Some aren't turning up at all, Williams. But yeah, that private Shakedown is occurring this week. I thought, let's have a look ahead. Let's have a look at what is in front of us, of course, for this season, and have a little bit of a rundown, really, and a review of the car launches and what we've seen from the cars thus far. Because we have seen cars out on track with their shakedowns or their private shakedowns already. So we'll have a look at some footage because it is track, it's not copyright. So thankfully we can actually look at some outboard footage of these new 2026 cars. And I must admit, I've run a poll, guys. I've run a poll. And, well, do you like the 2026 cars? Do you like the look of them? Because they are slightly shorter, slightly slimmer, so slightly narrower, smaller wheels, and they look different as well. Bit more of a callback to the 2008 to 2010 cars, 2009 cars, so probably like 07 to 09, really. And I must admit, I like the cars. I like them. I really do like them. I really like what I've been seeing. So, hey, Hen, good to see you. More overtaking possibilities. I believe so, Gohan. Yeah, I think we will. I think we really will. Especially with how these cars have been designed, with them being slightly smaller, with the element of less downforce, really, on these cars. They're going to be a bit more difficult to handle. They're not going to be as planted as what the ground effect era cars were. They were too quick, really. Had too much downforce. And this whole design of these new regulations is to reduce the dirty air. It always is, but a lot of the designs here is to create what's called in-wash. So to direct the airflow around the car to go inside the car, to go in and underneath the car. Not obviously via ground effect, and because what an F1 engineer F1 designer wants to do is create outwash. They want to direct the air away from the car so that it pushes the car down and it creates downforce, and that increases performance. But what that does for us, what it does for racing, unfortunately, and as viewers, is that it creates more dirty air, and it means that the guys behind can't follow as closely. So that's what the F1 designers are all of every team is chasing. They're looking at ways to try and create outwash and direct airflow away from the car more so than inwards. But the design, hopefully, I mean, from what we've seen already, and we'll have a look at some footage of the Haas in particular, we've seen that the spray isn't as thick as what it was in the ground effect era, where the cars were a lot more bigger. Of course, they had bigger tyres, and of course the rear diffuser in particular, the underside of the car with the Venturi tunnels and stuff, was just throwing up so much water and spray that the cars could drive in wet conditions. But as we've discussed many times last season, the reason why we never got any wet racing and there was always safety cars and red flags is because of the lack of visibility. But hopefully now we will see a return to wet racing. So maybe we'll see wet tyres used. I believe so. Yeah, I do think so. So can we just have the W17 on screen? Yeah, of course you can. I do actually have it here. There you go. Another livery I like. Of course, this is just a render. Just a render. We'll have a look at some footage. There's a bit of footage, actually, what I want to bring up, which is for the Mercedes. We saw some practice starts from the Mercedes at Silverstone. And it was a really different sound, of course. Different engines this time around. No MGU-K. Is it the MGU-K or is it MGU-H that's been removed? I can't remember which one was been removed. So, yeah, the engines obviously are different this year. It's big emphasis on who's going to be the best engine manufacturer, but also there's a lot of emphasis on the drivers. The active aero was interesting to see on the Ferrari this week, which we'll have a look at. So lots of things that can go wrong this year, and I'm really upset actually that the first bit of testing in Bahrain, so the first week, we got 2 weeks of testing here at Bahrain in February, and the first week is now no longer going to be broadcast. So I don't know what that means to data. But I'm going to now just stream the second week of testing for you, because that will have a full broadcast. Whereas the first week, the teams are clearly forced F1 to reduce the broadcasts down to just 1 hour per day, which is the last hour of Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, which is a shame for us viewers, because we want to see these cars out on track sooner rather than later. No doubt, obviously, there'll be footage, because that is a public test, Bahrain. It is public, just means it's not going to be broadcast, but yeah, a bit of a shame. But with overtaking, with these cars being a little bit more, not going to have as much grip as what the ground effect era cars had, with, of course, the battery modes, the overtaking modes and so forth that are going to be in play as well. I think we're going to see, yeah, overtakes and not just the battery, but also the recharge element. We're going to see drivers having to get up to speed with how these cars operate, their strategies in relation to where they want to use their battery and not use their battery. And it's going to be interesting to see how they manage that. So there's a lot more emphasis on the driver this year, getting on top of the management system. And you could probably see maybe some teams and some drivers who get on top of that. Maybe they're not in a quick car. Maybe they're not in the fastest car, but because they've got on top of the management system and the recovery system and using their battery more efficiently than others, they may be able to get some extra positions and get some very good results by getting on top of that quicker than others. So it's going to be really interesting. What's my favourite livery so far? My favourite livery so far is the one we just had on screen, and it is the Ferrari. I actually really like this. I saw some Ferrari fans, I've seen some clips and stuff, and people are like, it's too much white, it should all be red. But personally, I like this. This is my instant reaction when I saw this was Niki Lauda. People went obviously the Monza livery from last year, but my instant reaction was, that's Niki Lauda. That's a Niki Lauda inspired livery, and I like it. I really do like it. Maybe the white could be maybe the cockpit, the white here on the front, could stop a bit further back, maybe. I do see some criticisms for that, but I think I like it. I really do. And I think with obviously the carbon, so the new rule this year is that 55% of the top of the car, so not the underside, but the top of the car needs to be painted, and that's what they've obviously achieved. But look, the logo, it's smaller than last year. I'm much more happier with this livery, and obviously the shape of the cars as well. But welcome everyone, hope you're good. Some people have said that they don't like the Microsoft sponsorship located on the W17. Yeah, I think it's a bit misplaced, personally. I do think it's a bit misplaced. I don't know where else they put. I mean, you could put it on the shark fin. It's because it's square. I don't know. Like, it's okay down there, but I don't know. I feel like on the shark fin would fare much better. But obviously, that's a prime location for sponsorship now these days, isn't it? So, Ferrari will have 2 specs in Barcelona. Yeah, they've just said. Well, a lot of teams. What we've seen thus far is just an A spec. So we've seen teams bring along. Obviously, their renders are just their renders. Red Bull, as an example, which was this one. do like this, by the way. Do like this. I'm very intrigued to see how this looks out on track, because I think that's a banging Red Bull livery. It's amazing what just one change can do for you, just by going for the glossy look rather than the matte look. But I just think these cars just look so good. I know that's a render, but from what we've seen thus far, let's have a look at some footage, shall we? Seeing these cars out on track has just been like amazing. The RB livery, I mean, look at that. It just looks. I think the renders actually don't do these cars justice. I think they just look so good. These cars, they just look so good. The engine's really interesting as well, to hear how it's sounding. Definitely a lot louder for sure. It's a bit jarring. It's the only colour apart from the blue, black and silver. Yeah, exactly. So, but credit to these guys who recorded this footage, by the way, who are trackside. So, NM2255 Raw Car Sounds. Go give them a subscription. EVGA, yeah, it has been a while. I would have streamed, as like most creators have done. I would have streamed my reaction to pretty much every livery reveal or every car launch, but most of them have been during work hours for me. Still not a full-time gig this yet. It just sounds so much better. I think these cars just, like, this is Ferrari's test track, right? So it's Fiorano, and do you not feel like the cars, even though they're only what 20 centimeters shorter, 10 centimeters narrower, I can't remember which, it's not a lot either way it is, doesn't it? Don't they just look so much smaller? They look so much smaller. They look like there's a lot more room out on track. They sound better. They look better. They look cool. Like, that's something that I would get a poster of. Same as that. Like, I'm looking forward to seeing these cars out on track. It looks honest from his POV. Yeah, I agree. So Lewis did a standing start there. He was doing a little practice start, and this is what I wanted to bring up here. So this was George Russell at Silverstone doing a practice start, and this really intrigued me because you'll listen to just the noises. Just listen. It's kind of very unique and something that we're going to have to get used to this year. It took me back a little bit. Just listen to this. So that initial revving of the engine, I don't know if I'm too keen on that. Let me crank it up the sound again. Yeah. Yeah, the idle sound doesn't sound too great, does it? That's what that is there. Saw a clip of the Caddy testing at the Silverstone, and the Ferrari engine kind of sounds like their WEC car. It's just so good looking. Now, what was really interesting is this element here has caused a bit of it's a topic of discussion, the rear diffuser. So if we bring up, that's the active aero. I've got so many images up here at the moment. Which one is it? Is it this one? So there's a discussion at the moment around this duct, but it's opening in the rear diffuser. And of course, we're still yet to see the Red Bull out on track. But we've yet to see, we saw this on the Mercedes, and then we've seen kind of an iteration of it as well on the Ferrari. And it's interesting to see how, I mean, I'm not really, I've seen some dubious videos of people just trying to get clicks and saying, this is what we've learned from the Ferrari and from the Mercedes reveal. And it's like, you haven't learned absolute diddly squat. Like, unless you're an engineer, unless you're an aerodynamicist, unless your name is Scarbs, it's tricky to kind of understand what's going on. And that's why I've refrained from doing any sort of videos of that. Hence why I'm just now going, they look cool. They look different. I'm really positive about this season. And I still think there's going to be, still going to be a topsy-turvy season. But yeah, it's interesting. It's always interesting to see what the top teams have kind of done in relation to their designs from a very base level understanding. But what I was very intrigued about with Mercedes was how they were so, like, this is clearly an air of confidence around Mercedes, isn't there? Because they are the favourites, the early favourites based on vibes alone. But they were posting close-up photos of their car from the garage, for like, videos of it close up. They were like, here's the renders, and here, have a good look at our car. So there is a confidence about Mercedes this year, something that has long been a miss from them in the ground effect era. Anyone who writes off Mercedes has to remember you either haven't been watching the sport that long, because they arguably dominated the last 10 years. They won 8 constructors titles in a row. Of course, Lewis won 6 more championships with them. So yeah, are we gonna have double diffusers again? I don't know. As I said, I'm not too averse and up to date on the whole technical regs when it comes to like the aerodynamic side of things. Even the engine side, I'm still trying to get my ducks in a row there. But yeah, it's a lot more positive. Obviously, the one thing that I do know is that these regulations are all about, of course, the power unit. And I know people have been writing off the aero side of things and saying, well, it's more so about the engine. That is true, but you still have to create a good aerodynamic package, because like if you're not going to create that performance, that you can have the extra horsepower, but if you haven't got the aerodynamic package to go with it, I mean, it's still very intricate when you look at it. If you look at that Mercedes, you look at the Ferrari. I mean, look, the active aero. This was cool to see. The first use of active aero. So that front wing, this is straight line mode. Straight line mode. So you've got the rear wing opening a slightly, it did seem like a slight little delay there. So I don't know how it's still operating or how it's still going to operate in actual practice. But the front wing drop in, the rear wing drop in, almost like DRS. I mean, very interesting there. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's just so much that can go wrong this year, isn't there, from a technical perspective? There's going to be a lot of retirements, for sure. It's going to be interesting. 2026 season starts on today's Perez's birthday, 25th or 26th. Tomorrow, the first practice test is, yeah. Or the first day of practice. Aerodynamics will win you the championship if you can find the correct setup. Exactly, yeah. 100%. And the use of this active aero as well. And like, this is something that we've brought up and we've discussed on the Miss Apex podcast is, so you've got the actuators, right? So the whole system that opens up and closes the front wing. So we've always had actuators on the rear wing, right? So that is always this element here. That's the actuator for the rear wing, right? That's been there for ages because of DRS. But in the front wing section, like it does seem like it's going underneath the nose. But what happens if you have, and this is a question I've raised, what happens if you get front wing damage? Right? How quick of a replacement is it going to be to change a front nose, change a front wing? It used to be like, what, 7 seconds, 8 seconds? But with the actuators there now, like, how simple of a process is that going to be? Is it going to be super fiddly? Are we going to see, like, those, like, if you get damage to your active aero, like, you could be potentially a massive disadvantage. Front wing damage is going to be much more impactful. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. If you lose your front wing at the start, you're going to understeer. Yeah, definitely. Well, the thing is about the front wings now, though, is that you can see here is that they are slightly inward. If we have a look at the onboard shot, if we have a look at the Haas in a second, I mean, that's lovely. But you can see here from this image, can we get it from that one? Hang on. Here we go here, kind of like here. So you can see that the front wings they now don't no longer stick outward or on the edge of the wheels. Obviously, you've got the camber here, so it's always slightly angled. But you can see here that the front wing end plates aren't now no longer kind of sticking out. One, they're pointing inwards, and then the bits, obviously, on the end of the wing, I can't imagine there's going to be too much contact there. Unless someone really cuts off in front of you. But we saw throughout the ground effect era where the front wing end plates would always end up being taken off or hanging off, wouldn't they? But I don't think that's really going to be the issue. It's more so about front-on contact. But what will be an issue, and what they have discussed, is these elements here. So these deflectors, are they calling them deflectors? Like, people have called them barge boards, but I don't think that's a technical term for them. But these do stick out. These do definitely stick out. And you have to remember, how many times do we see drivers get up close and like this sticks outward as well. This sticks outward of the floor edge. So there's going to be a lot of drivers who get their front wheels in there, and these are going to be lost in the first couple of laps for sure. And that's going to cause damage. That's going to cause lack of performance, because this is all there to direct direct the airflow, obviously, through underneath the side pod here and out the rear of the car. And then, of course, yeah, the damage that can come from that behind with debris and so forth. That's going to be really interesting the first couple of races. The actuator on the front wing will be in the connections where the wind comes off, so I don't think that'll be a problem. Yeah, but connecting an actuator and so forth, like, it's not an easy process. I mean, look at that. So, like, this is why there's no rear wing replacements anymore. You used to be able to just take a rear wing off and, like, if it was damaged, and replace it. But this is why rear wings now, and haven't for quite some time since the introduction of DRS, are no longer a process of a pit stop. If you damage your rear wing, that's it. You couldn't make your way back to the pits and replace it because of this. So are we going to get to... I'm really intrigued to see how the FIA deals with this. And knowing the FIA, they probably haven't been proactive enough to come to a solution yet on how, and this is really what they should kind of be testing in this private test, is okay, and speaking to the teams about, is with how you've designed the cars and so forth, how long is it going to take you to, like, what's the safety concerns around the front wing damage, like, is it still usable, how long does it take to replace, blah, 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 so that you've got kind of stipulations in place for this front wing damage. Because are we just going to get to the point where, yeah, if you take front wing damage, you just have to race with a damaged front wing for the rest of the race, or do you have to retire the car? Like, we don't want that. Maybe, Gibson, maybe, but I doubt it. The thing is with an F1 car is everything matters. Everything matters. Like, everything is finely tuned and designed and there to direct airflow somewhere else. I mean, look, that this drop here, this serrated shark fin, my understanding is that is to disrupt the airflow around, or to try and kind of cut the airflow somewhat, and make sure that the car, yours, so left to right, a bit more to help the stabilization of the car on the rear. Whereas if that was just like flat, it doesn't necessarily help. Some teams have different ways of combating that. But yeah, the car sounds lovely, doesn't it? For these mechanical parts, I won't be surprised if this year has way more DNFs. 100% is going to be. Yeah. 100% there will be. There is one where it really rags it. That is a beefy car, isn't it? Goes Charles. Do I expect any big change in the McLaren livery? No. No, they're going to stick. They've been papaya for quite some time, and I think they're just going to stick to papaya. The only thing that may change with McLaren is like the sponsors, placements and stuff. But no, I think they'll stick to what they've had previously. So, right, let's have a look at Haas. So Haas was a new one yesterday. Top livery. Do like this livery. They were also testing at the Ferrari test track, Fiorano, because they have a Ferrari engine in the car. Now, not a fully wet track, but you can see the level of spray that Ollie does throw up here on the wet tyres. So they've got full wet tyres on. That's a banging livery, innit? Let's pause the music. Look at the spray there. See if we can get that again. That's a lot better. That's a lot better. Now, it's not like a proper wet track, is it? But that's a lot better. That's a lot more visible if you was following his car there. 100%. All we want to see is Checo return a finger to Lawson. He has the opportunity to do it, doesn't he? Yeah, I mean, you just saw that little puff of smoke there. It's not a proper puff of smoke, puff of spray. But look at that. Look, it's clearly visible. Clearly visible. I mean, this is intermediate weather, to be fair. You wouldn't be using full wet tyres in this. But that is a big positive that is localised as well. That spray, I think what's very positive about this is that you can see that spray is localised to kind of the actual like footprint of the car itself, like from a width perspective, because previously if that was last year's car, that would be from like where my mouse is, it would be like that. It was just so dramatic, like the level of spray or how widespread it was. So that's a definite positive. Which engine supplier? Nissan. So they use Ferrari. But for how much longer, I don't know, because Haas, as you can see there with the GR logo, is now Haas TGR. So Toyota were previously just a technical partner of Haas, but now they are a lot more. They're a lot more involved. Yeah, it does look good. It's not ragging it, is he? But. Yeah, but I think in next couple of years, apparently, it's a bit of sad news, but it does seem like Gene Haas's health is declining. So I don't know, obviously, what will happen with his involvement with the team, whether he's going to sell up or so forth. But I think eventually Haas will be Toyota again, and will be fully run by Toyota. Yeah, I agree, yeah. Stevo, yeah, you can see it there. Toyota will swallow Haas by 2030. Yeah, I think sooner rather than later. Since Caddy has a Ferrari engine, could we see them on the Ferrari test track? Don't think so. They've already done a shakedown. So they did theirs at Silverstone. We could get some footage up of them at Silverstone. Other than Audi, they were the first to do so. But it is a good livery. I mean, his cars just look so much smaller. Like, I can already see. I mean, look at that there from straight on. How much smaller does that look? How much smaller? Like, I can see free. Okay, someone would be very brave to take that free wide there, but it just even. I think the tyres have played a big role here as well. The tyres are smaller. That also makes the car look smaller. The front wing. I mean, it just looks so much better on track, don't they? And hopefully, obviously, with everything that these cars are designed to do, with the battery usage, the overtake mode and so forth, the active aero, the aerodynamics of them as well, to create more in-wash than out-wash and reduce dirty air, it should hopefully provide us, again, those tracks like Suzuka, those tracks like Spa, the historic tracks that we love, actually provide good racing rather than boring, dire affairs. Because that's what we've had in recent years, unfortunately. I think he spun it at one point. Was it here he spun it? Oh, there's a good... It seems like it got wetter throughout the day, maybe. So that one? Or was it the next bit? You see... Yeah, look at that spray. So much better. I think he spun it at one point. Maybe they're not showing that. Oh, he's ragging it there. Hang on. Let's turn it up. He went for it there. He went for it there and then dialed it back. It's only a shakedown. Probably a radio message in his ear pretty quickly. Slow it down, Ollie. Don't go too fast. And then we had the racing balls as well. I think this was the one that we really got proper trackside imagery of. Cadillac, of course, did do their shakedown in Silverstone, but it was more so from a distance that people were looking at. So this is the Ford engine, the Red Bull powertrains and Ford engine that will be in the back of the Red Bull. We still have yet to see the Red Bull out on track. It will be at testing this week in the Shakedown at Barcelona. Oh, look how good it looks. Oh, it just looks so good. Like, I don't know why that livery just pops. But the design of the 2026 cars and that livery, and I don't know. I keep seeing images of this and I'm just like, I love these cars already. And as well, so what I really like here, and we're going to pause it here, is that we can see the return of the rake of the car. So that means when the front of the car is slightly lower than the rear of the car, and I don't know about you guys, but I like to see daylight. I feel like an F1 car. I've watched F1 for years, and I just feel like F1 to me, I like to see a gap under the side of the car. You know, it just, even though the car's like slightly raised, it just looks more like a race car now. I don't know about you. Only thing I wish that they kept the halo white. Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, maybe they can change it white, but it's probably for the sponsors. Do I think with a smaller footprint in the cars, it would encourage more overtaking? 100%, yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, I always pinpoint back to Alex Albon's interview that he did with Matt and Tommy in the middle of the year, and they did like a ranking or like a competition of racetracks, and the racetracks that came out on top for him were all racetracks that had really wide like track surfaces. And the reason he said he liked them is because even in this current era of F1, which was of course last year with the ground effect era, he said we can still go racing. So the likes of Interlagos, likes of Silverstone, likes of Circuit of the Americas came out on top, and he said that we can find different racing lines to find those pockets of clean air and ensure that we can get the traction required to make an overtake down into the next corner. And what these cars are going to do is they're going to reduce that footprint so that, yes, following should be easier, and we should see better racing at those traditional circuits again. Suzuka, Spa that I've already mentioned. There'll still be tracks where it's always difficult to overtake just because of the nature of them. Some street circuits, like these cars aren't all of a sudden they're going to make Singapore and Monaco a great race circuit to watch racing at. They're just not. But the traditional race circuits, we should. And of course, with the management system, the boost mode, overtake mode, like these drivers more emphasis on having to look after their recovery as well with the battery, ensuring they have that. We are probably going to see a lot more strategy involved with the drivers, maybe trying to offset the car ahead. So it's almost like a push, it's kind of push to pass system, but not a push to pass system. But you can kind of maybe lure the driver ahead to use a bit more battery than necessary in certain areas to defend, and then you can the next time around know you've got more battery, or in the next couple of corners you've got more available and overtake there. So it's gonna make battles really interesting. I think really interesting, but we'll see how these drivers in testing. I mean, we are going to get some feedback. We're going to get some reports from the testing this week, even though it's private. And then, of course, in Bahrain, we're really going to get some information from the drivers. And I would pay a lot of attention to what the drivers are saying in their interviews. Some will give more information than others about how the recovery system and the overtake system and all that is working, and what their thoughts are on it. That's going to be interesting to see and listen to. The proportions of these cars this year makes are much more appealing on the eye than last year. 100%, yeah. They remind you of those big bouncy Hot Wheeled cars in a satisfying way. Yeah, definitely. So is the new season going to start on a more level playing field? Will we think it would be driver skill alone? No, look, it's always... F1 is an engineering sport, so ultimately it doesn't matter how good the driver is, you still need the car underneath you. But I think while everyone's back in Mercedes, no one's really talked about McLaren, have they? I still think McLaren are going to make a very good car. If Mercedes have the quickest engine, we could see a Mercedes-McLaren battle this year. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris fighting George Russell, maybe Kimi Antonelli as well. But yeah, it's as always, you need to be able to create a good car. But there is definitely going to be more emphasis on the driver this year, making up the difference, at least in the early stages of the season for sure, while everyone gets on top of how the recovery system works. And because you can do all the testing in the world, but until you actually get racing and you're racing side by side with other drivers in other cars, and you're in that scenario, and you're in those scenarios, utilizing the boost system, the overtake mode, and recovery and so forth. I mean, also the tires. There's a big, still yet another unknown on the tires this year. How are they going to perform? They're slightly smaller. Pirelli, as always, they alter the compound each year. That's the only part of the car that actually touches the ground, so it makes contact with the track surface. So how are they going to perform this year? I really hope Pirelli have made improvements there. So yeah, lots and lots for us to keep an eye on, and could make the difference when it comes to who's going to be quick this season. But I still think we're going to see like that. I hope at least it's not one team that dominates, because we don't want that. We want at least two teams fighting it out. But yeah, I think hopefully the FIA stays on top of the regulations, and there may be things that change throughout the year that really do hamper one team. One team gets off to a good start, and then they issue a technical directive that other teams have to alter their cars to reflect that, to achieve that new technical directive, and it hampers them, and it brings other teams forward. Lots and lots of things that can happen. Any major driver team changes in the works? No, but there will be a big silly season for sure, because lots of drivers are out of contract at the end of this year. So they're all positioning themselves for, obviously, this regulation set. They want to leave themselves open, so we don't know. I still think a lot of the driver moves this year depends on Max Verstappen's whereabouts and what he decides to do. If Max decides that he wants to leave Red Bull, then that's going to start a merry-go-round for sure. But if it doesn't, I mean, if Ferrari don't get off to a good start and they're pretty poor, what is Charles going to do? Is he going to stick around, or is he going to look to move elsewhere? But Max basically gets the first choice, doesn't he? That's the thing. If Max says he wants to leave, then Mercedes will want him. Aston Martin will want him. So, yeah, That's going to be an interesting year, though. Sounds so much louder. Definitely going to hear these cars on your way into the track, aren't you? Oh, so I've got a bit of a funny story, actually. Haas were supposed to do a filming day here. And you may have wondered, oh, why did Haas why did they only release renders? Because normally they release renders, but they have like a bit of trackside footage with it as well. So Haas had a day booked at Imola for a filming day, just before they released the car online. Their truck driver, who was delivering the car to the track, turned up with the car not in the back of the trailer. He took the wrong truck or the wrong trailer to the track and left it back wherever he was supposed to pick it up from. So filming day scrapped, and that's why we only got renders on social media. So Haas were supposed to have a track day at Imola, Shakedown, but yeah, the truck driver left it. And I've heard that secondhand, but I've heard it from someone who works. The individual who they heard it from works in F1. Yeah, and they told him that. So, and funny enough, I'm surprised no one else has reported on that as well. But just something funny. So it didn't start off particularly well this season for them, is it? So that might have been why Haas's filming day track time actually was at Fiorano rather than actually at Imola. It was supposed to be at Imola. So I don't know how you do that, to be honest. I mean, that's a big. Just open the doors just to make sure, yes, your multi-million pounds F1 car is in the back. So, yeah. Sounds so good, man. I want to see these cars go at it. It's like they're teasing us. They're so teasing us. They put their foot down a little bit and then they're like, oh, no, I'm not going to send it into this corner. Oh. But you really hear, obviously, being trackside will be a bit different, but you can really hear the reverberance. Is that the right word? Of the engines. That's like going to school, going to school to pick up the kids and forgetting them, yeah. Or you're doing school drop off and you forgot the kids. They're still at home. I mean, that could still be a fake story, but I've heard it from someone who works actually in F1, so. Oh, here we go. Sounds very nice, doesn't it? Sounds very nice. Looks very good as well. But yeah, they look so much better, didn't they? So much better. So yeah, the active aero is going to be interesting, seeing this popping up and down. Hearing 22, yeah, 22 of these cars now is going to be great. Is it like a fake rumor to cover Haas just not being ready? No. I mean, it hasn't. I haven't seen this anywhere else. This little story. So for that reason, it makes me think it's true because no one's posted about it. What was I talking about? Just talking about Haas. Yeah, so Haas was supposed to have a filming day at Imola, and it turned out that the guy who was supposed to take the car there, the truck driver, took the wrong truck, and they were left wherever he picked the truck up from meant the car, he took the wrong truck. So the car wasn't in the back, and he turned up at Imola without an F1 car in the back. So they sound like less screamy and more solid. Yeah, I agree. But this is going to be interesting. I mean, I can see what people are saying is that if there's a failure in one of these, like, something's going to happen, isn't it? Something big could potentially happen here with a crash. I don't know. I'm intrigued to see. What's my favourite livery so far? My favourite livery so far is actually the Ferrari. I really like it. I really do. It's a callback to Niki Lauda. I get some people's criticisms are it's got too much white on it, but I think I understand people wanting it to all be red. Yes, that's valid, but at the same time, I like that the HP logo is more integrated now. Of course, everyone would like it to be not blue, but they've paid 500 million or whatever it is for the for that to be blue and not to be changed. But it's a lot more integrated, and I like it. I really do. You think the Ferrari's rear wing should be red? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess it's weight saving because it's all carbon fiber, isn't it? I mean, the underside of the car is got IBM on it, but love seeing the wheels again. Yeah. I think they said you can do something with these. I think they said you can do something with the wheel covers, so. But Cadillac's car, so this is what they've revealed for their testing. Oh god, that's very small, isn't it? That's what Cadillac are doing for their tests, by the way. So for the shakedown, we won't see the full Cadillac livery until the Super Bowl ad, which will be what, 7th of February, I think it is the Super Bowl. So they're revealing their livery then. I really hope they go yellow. My hope is that their livery. Hang on. My hope. Cadillac F1 livery is they do something like this. I think if they don't do something like this, they will be. I think it's a missed opportunity to stand out on the grid, to be honest with you. I really do. That's what I hope they do. I so hope they do this. Like, give me this. Because if you go for silver and black, or like, people know Cadillac as being yellow. I know, yeah. Or at least blue. But I think there's blue on it already. You got Alpine. Like, you'll stand out big time. Look at that. Do it. Just hire this guy, whoever did this concept livery for you, and do it. Obviously, this is the 2022 car. I think it was last year's car. But give me that. Come on. You saw someone say it looked like Ronald McDonald's show. Is there 2 activators in the front wing or just one? If there is 2, imagine one of them falling off. I think there's just one. There's one that's underneath the front nose. That's what we've seen thus far. Looks like one of the WC or IMSA cars. Yeah, that's basically what they've done, is that this person has converted their hypercar into the F1 livery. But yeah, I mean, give us this, man. Because no car on the grid is yellow. No car on the grid is yellow. So you'll stand out. And you'll be known on the grid. Like Papaya. I don't like Papaya, but at least you know that's McLaren. Whereas the last thing you want is you to get mixed up with Audi. And obviously Audi's got that big block on it. The red block. But at least then you're synonymous on the grid and no one will not know who you are. So, hey, the hybrid, assist and active aero, but otherwise these cars are freaking sick, and this could be the best season in years. So I agree, Mark. Yeah, and I really hope everything pans out. I mean, I'm not pessimistic at all, to be honest with you. I'm excited. I really am excited, and the cars look amazing, and I really hope everything works out. Right, that's a good livery as well. The Audi livery. Do you know what the Audi livery is? Right. and it was the only one I live streamed. I don't think the renders do it justice. Now, I do like this livery. I still think it's a 7 out of 10. But the renders actually make the livery look dull. Like, it's not... This makes it look like it's matte silver and stuff, and it makes it look... And the red as well, but it's not. It's got a glossy look to it. And it looks so much better. There you go, kind of... Because... Well, this lighting anyway didn't do it any justice. Maybe it is the real car. Where is it? Hang on. Yeah, so I mean, it is a bit matty, but I mean, it looked better in person, like when they showed it. Yeah, look. Is it still a 7? I'm downgrading it actually. I think it's a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. This is interesting, isn't it? But they've got all that underneath there. That's interesting. Unless this is the model. The suits are good, though. I like the suits. The race suits are good. People thought they might introduce a bit of yellow onto it because of, yeah, the Quattro. I thought they might do a bit more like red trim. I thought they might have put a bit more like red trim on it. Obviously, the inside of the air intakes and stuff on the side pods, and the air intake is red. But yeah, I'm still surprised the engine cover hasn't got any sponsorships on it. So that will be surely that is going to be red at some red. Sorry, that's going to have more sponsors on it at some point. Renders look orange. Yeah, I agree. I think it's just one of those colours. I think it's one of those colours under a certain light. It may come out orange. But also, I think the renders have probably turned the saturation up or something. I think the saturation's been turned up a little bit here. And it makes it look orange, where it should be red. Yeah? You like the Audi? But Mercedes does look good. Who else have we seen? I'm trying to think of who else there was. Ferrari, Red Bull, VCARB, Audi, Caddy we've seen but not seen. Mercedes and Haas. Oh, Alpine. And Alpine. Alpine was boring. That's just the same livery as before. I don't like Alpine's livery. I think it's just boring. Sounds so good though, doesn't it? I think we're all going to love the new Aston Martin livery. That would just be green. That would just be racing green, won't it? I mean, even from the rear, it looks very good, doesn't it? Alpine need to lift. It's that pink sponsor that ruins a different look. Yeah. Well, what I don't understand about Alpine is that they revealed the car. They revealed the car on their Shakedown. So they revealed the livery on their Shakedown, and everyone was like, "So you've just done like this you've just done this reveal, and you ruined it in the Shakedown." It just didn't make sense. Look at that side profile. Oh, it looks so good. It looks like a race car. Did I hear about Christian Horner leading a consortium going into Alpine? So I heard, I saw something. Who is it? Alpine Horner. I did see something in the news. Yeah. Was it? Alpine have issued a statement on this. So apparently, the Renault-owned F1 team sold a 24% stake to investors. last year. Apparently, Otro, the investor from last year, already wants to sell their stake. So they need to sell their stake first, and then Alpine, then Renault will have like 100% or whatever again, or yeah, it depends. They need to sell their stake, which is 24%, and then you've got like 75% or 70% odd that Renault own. So, but they are looking to sell. I've been wanting to do that for quite some time. I think it was High Tech, of course. Was it Ollie Oaks? Before he disappeared because his brother was being investigated for fraud, and he disappeared as well. So they were looking to buy Alpine, apparently. But then that deal fell through because of those alleged what's the right word? Claims, charges. So nice to see 2026 car looking like a proper F1 car once again, and not a big wide long. Yeah, exactly. So tyre selections for this week. So we do have testing this week, guys. The private one, the Shakedown. It's not testing because Bahrain own the rights to testing. But these are the tyre selections for each team. Of course, Williams, we know, are not going to be there, so you can scrub them out. But you can see quite a few teams not taking any hards. Why are they not taking hards to test at Barcelona this week? Well, the reason for that will be because Barcelona is around 10 degrees in temperature at the moment. It's like single figures struggling to get to double figures in Barcelona at the moment. It's pretty cold, put it that way. Not as cold as it is in the east coast of the US at the moment, though. So hope everyone who is in the US is all wrapped up nice and warm and safe over there with that winter storm you've got. But yeah, that's why many of them haven't got the hard compound tyre. So yeah, we will see, no doubt, some stories and some pictures from the bushes, people with long lenses getting us some good shots. No doubt from the test this week. You can't keep things private, can you, in this day and age? You can't do that at all with social media and so forth. When there's a will, there's a way. People will find a way. Is that a situation like the Claire Williams days with no car at the test? So there's been rumours. The race did do a story on it as to why they haven't been able to turn up, but I don't know how true this source is. Once again, it's second-hand, so I don't know who the source is. Someone I know knows someone in the know. So as I said, take this with a pinch of salt, but they reported back in November that Mercedes were struggling. They were still waiting on their Mercedes engines to turn up back in November, Williams. Like, there was a delay with the Mercedes power units. Of course, Mercedes are supplying to an extra team this year in Alpine. So Alpine were able to get their engines. So I don't know how early they got their engines, but it sounds like they got them prior to Williams getting them. And Toto Wolff did say not too long ago in an interview that they're looking at their how many engines they supply, and that's probably the reason why, is because there was a slight delay. Now, that hasn't been widely reported anywhere. That's just, as I said, second-hand source, second-hand information. Don't know how true it is, but if they had something delayed with the engine, then that's going to delay everything, because you've built your whole chassis, your whole design around the engine. If you get the engine in and then for some reason something doesn't quite align, or if there's like a mistake or something from all of the drawings that you've been given, until you get that physical thing in the car, you don't know how that fits. So if you come across any issues, then everything's going to be pushed back. And the reason supposedly that are being reported now is that they weren't able to get their crash tests properly signed off and so forth. But that sounds like that if that story is true, that information is true, then yeah, that would be the main reason as to why Williams are slightly behind and not able to get to January. And maybe they didn't start designing as early and preparing for next season as early as they let on. I don't know. But yeah, it's not positive, but it's also not the end of the world, because they are able to... They still have the two tests in Bahrain. It will arguably, yes, put them behind everyone else, but it's also not the end of the world, because there are 6 days of testing that they can have ahead of them in Bahrain. So if it was just one test ahead of them, then they would definitely be behind. But yeah, I don't think it's some 200 IQ move that people... I've seen some people maybe predict. But let's see what the race said. So the race said Williams... So there was speculation that Williams' chassis is not ready. The race understands this is not the case and is past everything required. Did they actually say anything here or not? With that in mind, it cannot be a poor planning or improper tools. It's understood to not be a result of a supplier or production issue. That's what the race is reporting. But they don't actually give any... They don't give any reason as to why it is. So no one knows at the moment. No one knows. It's all guesswork. But I don't think it's as bad. I don't think it's a Claire Williams situation. Oh, Jarvis, thank you for the 5 gifted, by the way. Much appreciated. I think I've got gifteds, you know, to use. I do. I have 10 to gift. There we go. Those of you that are tuning in early to this year, right? Welcome, guys. Welcome. There we go. Another 5 gifted. Another 10. There you go. If you're being fortunate enough to get one, it is random. Please give a thank you to Jarvis if you was able to receive one. And, of course, if you're lucky enough to get one from myself. Welcome, welcome. At the speed, the active aero will flop up and down automatically. So if you're in mid-turn and at speed, you will lose downforce mid-apex. Yes, theoretically speaking. So the active aero is supposed to act like the DRS system. So it's supposed to have a fail-safe that I believe that once you touch the brake, you like the active aero, the straight line mode goes back into like downforce mode, like normal mode, basically. Just like the DRS was, you'd have to press the button to activate it, but then as soon as you touch the brake or as soon as you lifted off a throttle, the DRS would close. I don't think if you lift off the throttle, the straight line mode deactivates. I think it is a simple case of if you touch the brake, it will deactivate. So it's kind of going to be, I think it's going to be kind of like there'll be some drivers maybe trying to activate it a bit sooner out of the corners while they're still turning. Necessarily maybe go for a bit of a risk. Not to the extent of Jack Doohan, where he left the DRS open while he was still turning into turn 1 at Suzuka. But I think you may see some drivers try and play around and be a bit braver and a bit bolder with trying to get that extra top speed, get that extra acceleration while out of the corner a bit sooner than others. When it comes to the straight line mode and that, I still don't know when it can be activated. I believe active aero is only possible in designated zones similar to DRS before. That's the thing. I don't know. The boost mode is, so let's have a look. I'm going to have a look, actually. So we'll go get this image back on screen, but I'm just going to have a quick check again. So straight mode F1. The key terms. Right, let's have a look here. So, let's bring this down here. Let's have a look. But, right, so these are the different modes. We've got boost button. When engaged, it will trigger a change in power unit settings, either returning to maximum power or a profile configured by the team as per their personal choice. The boost could, in theory, either help them defend from a car behind or attack a car ahead, providing they have saved enough charge. It can be used all at once or spread across the lap. So this is kind of just your standard battery mode, pretty much. how the battery was deployed previously, where you would be able to use overtake button, but that overtake is its own thing now. And that is kind of like your old ERS system. Electrical, that's basically, yeah, the electrical recovery system. Then you've got the overtake mode. This is new. It's a performance aid designed to deliver closer racing and boost overtaking opportunities. It allows the driver to recharge an extra 0.5 megajoules and generate an additional electrical power profile to allow them to sustain a higher speed for a longer period. It can only be used on the following lap. Its use will be most effective on longer straights. As the delta speed it will deliver should be a greater effect on the closing distance between the two competing cars. So this is where, yeah, so this is the detection point. This is where it's the new form of DRS. This is where it will be able to be used in 3 or 4 different zones on a track. It's not going to be completely defined by straight distances. Sorry, on straights like DRS was. It's where when they did the I don't want to get done for copyright, but here is, where is it? Come on, hang on a sec. I don't want to get it for copyright. Where is that track? So as an example, you've got that there, right? So you've got detection point, and then you've got different, I don't know what track this is, to be honest with you. But you should have, look, you could have 1, 2, 3, 4. You could have 5 areas on a track where they're able to use the boost mode. That's what they're trying to get at and help provide closer racing. No, that's just for extra battery power. So yeah, I'm still a little bit confused, you know. Finish line is going to be the detection point. Possibly. I mean, if you read that again, look, it allows the driver to recharge and generate an additional electrical power, but they can sustain a higher, longer period. It will be used to follow out. It's used as the most effective on longer straights at delta speed. It should have a greater effect on the closing distance between. Hang on, that's not even. Yeah, hang on. But this says it can be used all at once or spread across the lap. Yeah, where's the hang on, active aero. Here we go. So let's go active aero. We don't need to know recovery because recovery is recovery at the end of the day. Right. In the corners, the flaps will be in their default closed position to maintain downforce. They will move to their open position to engage a low drag mode, flattening the wings to reduce drag and increase top speed. The rear wings can open on defined straights. Okay, here we go. The rear wings can open on defined straights as with DRS now, though there will be more of them per circuit, and you don't need to be okay. You don't need to be inside 1 second of the car in front to open them. So this is where it's being replaced. It's being replaced, but you don't have to. So there'll be more areas where you can open the rear wing and go into straight mode. And the drivers will manually open the wings for each zone, similar to DRS now. Drivers can manually close it, or the wings will automatically close if they brake or lift off the throttle. Okay, so still lift off throttle then. There is an additional auto turn-off feature for 2026, whereby certain zones, there is also a lap distance turn-off to ensure that drivers can't try to take certain corners with the wings open. Okay, yeah, so they are limiting that. That will prevent incidents like Jack doing off at turn 1 in Suzuka. Yeah, that was bad. Okay, so they're going to have more zones where you can open the rear wing for straight line mode, and it doesn't have to be you, so you don't have to be within a second of the car ahead. But the different zones are for the boost mode, the overtake mode. Sorry. Oh, I really need to get on top of this for when it comes to commentary, don't I? Hey, Lovey, good to see you. Right. I show Miss drivers with faster mid-corner speeds, passing because of their driving ability, all this fake pass assists. Yeah, I mean, look, it's the nature of, obviously, the evolvement of motorsport. with energy and electric and so forth being implemented. So it's DRS without the 1 second limitation. Sounds like it. But the front wing also reduces as well. They can have the front wing in straight mode even in low grip areas. Only rear will be closed. So it says here there's an additional auto turn off feature whereby they can manually open the wings for each zone. Drivers can manually close it, or the wings will automatically close. Yeah, I still don't know. The aero is not connected to the use of power. They operate separate. Yeah, the aero basically can be used wherever and whenever, except, well, no, not whenever. So the aero can be used regardless. The active aero can be used regardless if you're within 1 second of a driver or not. Doesn't matter. That's like been removed. However, straight line mode can only be activated in certain areas, right? I need to hang on. We need to read this again. Sorry, I'm getting really confused myself. For the first time, in the corners, the flaps will be in their default closed position to maintain downforce. Get that. They will move to their open position to engage a low drag mode. I get that. The rear wings can open on defined straights as with DRS now, though there will be more of them per circuit, and you don't need to be inside 1 second of the car. So, to your question, and the way I'm interpreting that is that the front wing, as we saw with Lewis Hamilton on this, so that there, I believe, will be able to be utilized everywhere except in a corner. But the rear wing, so this is why people were saying there was a separation of the rear wing and the front wing, right? Is that this is basically, there is only certain areas on a track like that. If we go back to it where we paused the video, so these zones here are only where the rear wing can be fully opened. But if they wanted to open the front wing here, then, and like in this little section here out of the corner, then they could do, I believe. That's the way I'm interpreting it. So the active aero is going to be up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, like so often. That's the way that I'm interpreting that. Let me know if you think, guys. Because this here, look, the front wing is down on its own, and the rear wing's closed. So that is, but that's not full. And then there's full straight line mode. That's where the front wing's down and the rear wing is open. So they need to clarify this to us, really, I think, like in actual practice. And this is what testing is going to be really important for. Yeah. Because how far out of a corner? Because then now my question is, okay, well, how early can they open? Where does the corner begin and end then? You know, like, okay, so where can they, in this section as an example, so what, can they just have that front wing open throughout? Or like, surely there's a point, like there's going to be so many more detection zones, I feel like. I don't know how this I now think the active aero may be a lot more faffy than initially designed, if that's the case. The drivers will manually open the wings for each zone. Similar to DRS now, drivers can manually close it, or the wings will automatically close if they brake or lift off the throttle. So, as soon as they touch the brake or lift off, that's when technically the active aero comes off. And then, of course, if there's like a yellow zone, then they'll be able to like turn off the active aero altogether. Okay. Really wish all the testing was done behind closed doors away from each other so we can all rock up in Melbourne and see what everyone has built. maybe. I don't know. I like the excitement of testing, to be fair. Balsaletta wasn't the last driver ever to use DRS in Formula 1. Clearly, the rule is still in effect. Yeah, to an extent. I think it was Kimi Antonelli, actually. I think it was. I think we look back at that. Then what about the front wing in corners where you take it flat on, like, T18, Jeddah? Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they must... But then they must have to implement a detection point there. So this is where, like, then the FIA are really going to have to get on top of detection points and... Ooh, this is posing a few more questions. This is posing a lot more questions than I initially thought. This is why this live stream was a good decision. I think the little one is offering some serious criticism, and you agree. I know. What that translates to is what was the FIA thinking? Computer-controlled active aero, anything that counts as post corner, the wing will drop. Yeah, I mean, look, I imagine everything will be synced up to a computer, but look, things have gone wrong technically before when it comes to like computers and stuff with F1. So we'll see. But yeah, I don't think. I mean, where's the document that they had? What's this? Everything you need to know about the rules. Overtake mode, yes, especially because a driver can strategically use it. The mode is just for attack and is triggered when they're within 1 second of the car in front. That gives them an extra electrical energy, which they can use to deploy to overtake. Yep, get that. The drivers will oversee their battery recharge, working with the race engineer. The juror can select from a range of different modes to recharge their battery from braking and engine energy. Is there anything on the active aero? Doesn't say anything else about the active aero. The cars can adjust the angle of both their front and rear wing elements depending on where they're on track. In the corners, the flaps stay shut in the default position. Yeah. On designated straights, drivers can activate low drag mode, which opens the flaps and flattens the wings, reducing drag and boosting top speed. This is available to every driver on every lap. But then I guess... But then my question is, when it comes to the low drag mode, right? The straight mode. Doesn't that not make... If everyone has availability to it every lap, does that not just make it a bit... like, defunct? Do you get where I'm coming from, where we had, like, DRS trains and stuff? Like, if you're trying to... If it's in designated zones as well, and everyone is able to use it at every... like, on the same section, every single lap, but there's no benefit to it, there's no, like, offsetting of it, and... So in the end, active aero actually doesn't really become that big of a deal. And you might as well just leave active aero, like leave the wings fixed. And just have the usage of the boost and recovery system, right? Like that seems more of something that is... It makes cars faster. I mean, yeah, it sounds like the active aero thing, to be honest. It's just a bit of an ego thing. It sounds like the active aero is just to try and make these cars more fast, like faster in a straight line, so that they can say these cars still reach a certain top speed, rather than actually having an impact on the racing itself. Yeah, there we go, Heracles. Yeah, it will not help or impact overtaking. Exactly, because if everyone is able to have use of it every single lap and in the same designated straights, what? There's no offset there. There's no way that, unless you pick up damage, maybe. Like, why is... Like, yeah. I'm now thinking, I've now come to, like, as we've just run through this, that active aero is just a load of bull and is going to cause more issues when it comes to damage and so forth, and could actually be detrimental to the overall racing this year than a positive. It will save fuel too. Yeah, but I mean, really? Is it that big of a deal? It would have been much cooler if the wings were used more as a braking tool rather than an extra speed tool. Like they're down by default, and when you enter heavy braking, they help you brake. Like a road car, almost. The matter of the teams only having a limited amount of fuel is having an impact. At least it's not fan popularity engine boost. You upvote on social media. Fairs, I mean, look, I don't know. That's just how I'm kind of seeing it right now. Because I think it's been... Hasn't the active aero been more... Like, it hasn't... Like, the active aero, from what I've seen, hasn't been pushed and advertised as an area to save fuel and all that element. It's been advertised as this is something that is brand new in F1 and it's going to help with making the racing more exciting and the race more exciting. But, I don't know, the way that I'm interpreting it now, I don't think it actually is. As long as teams adhere to the rules like they are famous for doing, then yes, active aero is nullified. But if they bend the rules a little, it could be a real game changer. Yeah, I guess that's where maybe it could come into play. Is the in the development side of things with the airflow. But I don't know. I think if everyone's got access to it every single lap, then like the guy in front is still, but the guy behind isn't going to get an advantage. Obviously, we were looking to get rid of DRS, which to an extent we is getting rid of DRS, but I don't know. The rear wings will just be open all the time for the teams. We'll not notice after a few races. The extra power in front wing openings will be what we are watching for. Yeah, it's the extra power. So when it comes to, of course, I mean, for me, from my watch along perspective, it will be. I mean, I don't know when someone's got their wing open. I mean, I imagine maybe there will be. I'm interested to see what the new graphics are going to be for us to keep an eye on. I imagine, of course, boost mode is definitely going to be something that we will have information on. We need information on, for sure. That'll be replacing the DRS for sure. But do I need to know when someone's in straight line mode or whether they're in low drag mode? Not really, because they'll be using it every single lap. What we need to know from a viewer perspective is when do they activate overtake mode? Are they using overtake mode and the boost mode? I'm pessimistic on whether we'll get get access to that data of what battery mode they're in when it comes to the boosts and so forth and recovery, because every team will have access to that. Otherwise, and the teams will not want to give that information up. But when it comes to overtake mode, we 100% need access to that information to know when drivers are using it, because that is in effect your new DRS, and that keeps things informative for us as fans. That's my perspective on it anyway. Lots of people talking about when the wings are dropped, how much faster the cars are, but imagine how much those wings act as air brakes too. Yeah, exactly. Then they don't need to worry about the DRS line and will make racing more fun, like in Qatar, can actually activate as early as they can. Well, no, they won't be able to activate as early as they can, will they? Because this is what we were speaking about there, where there needs to be like defined corners. They're not going to be able to use them in the corners, and it's to avoid a T1 Jack Doohan scenario. I mean, they even referenced it, didn't they? They even referenced it here. Where is it? Drivers will manually open wings. There is an additional auto turn-off feature whereby for certain zones there is also a lap distance turn-off to ensure that drivers can't try to take certain corners with wings open. That will prevent incidents like Jack Doohan off at T1 in Suzuka. So the SoC data and displays were all over the place in the past. I share your concerns. You would think they would have think of that before doing it, but it is F1. Yeah, I mean, look, that's why there's so many testing sessions, and I'm sure they'll figure things out. I'm sure if they've done their jobs correctly, they should have a whole list of items that they want. They should have a whole list of items, areas of concern that they have drawn up themselves that they want to figure out from a practical perspective when it comes to these testing sessions in the next month. Not just from themselves, but also feedback from the teams as well of their concerns and things that they want to basically troubleshoot. And hopefully they do have that available, and that's what's going to be tested over the next month or so. So that when it comes to Australia, like, we don't have these issues that we're talking about now. They should 100% have that in place, those risks and things that they want to figure out. But we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, there we go. That was interesting. I didn't think... So yeah, still a lot for us to get around. I'm intrigued to see what... So the testing sessions, if you're unaware, guys, let's have a look. I'll have to log into my F1 TV stuff. Hang on. Oh, I am logged in, actually. So we can go to Bahrain here. So when it comes to the testing, unfortunately, if you're unaware, they have altered the TV coverage when it comes to testing next for the first testing session, first testing week in Bahrain. We're only going to get an hour from, that's local time, by the way, 3 till 4. We're only going to get an hour, no, local time? No, it's my time, sorry, it's my time, 3 o'clock, I believe. So we're going to get 1 hour at the end of the day, which will have access to data, I believe. If we even do have access to data, they haven't confirmed that for that week. So I will not be streaming here. I may stream I may be able to get to stream the Friday. It depends what I've got going on at work for that hour. But then the week after is where we should have everything. Hang on. Should have everything available. So yeah, starts at 7 on the last testing week. So I'll be live streaming Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of that week, and that's, well, for me as well, it'll also be a figure out week of how we're going to present things for you this season. Later on, are the cars actually smaller this year? Yeah, of course they are. I mean, well, they're not dramatically smaller, but I think they do look smaller. They definitely look smaller. Do they look more compact than Expo? Oh yeah, definitely a lot more compact. So this is the Ferrari. I mean, you can see there, just like, look how much room there is over to the side. Whereas before, it just used to look like there wouldn't even be any room for cars coming down the side. Or alongside. That's the Ferrari, and then this was the Haas. So yeah, you're only talking 10 centimeters narrower, I think, or 20 centimeters narrower and 10 centimeters shorter, or 20 centimeters. So at most, you're talking 20 centimeters both ways, and it just looks, the cars just look so much smaller. Hey, Joey. If you need any more for the upcoming season, oh, maybe, Rabbit, yeah. I mean, last year was a brilliant year. Of course, the last race of the season was manic. We had over 80,000 viewers for the last race of the season. Of course, that was a one-off because of what was at stake with it being the finale and with there being 3 drivers in contention for winning the Drivers' Championship. But yeah, that was absolutely crazy. They sound brilliant. So I'm very positive. I'm very positive about this season. You was here, good man. So much better. And we were saying the spray as well. Look, while it is intermediate weather, like that is an intermediate track condition, the spray is a lot more, a lot less spread out. It's a lot more enclosed. Of course, these cars aren't as low to the ground as their predecessors. So the way the aero wash is this year as well. I mean, look at that spray. Like, it's still obviously going to be spray. There always will be. You won't ever be able to negate that. But it was fine there, and if you're following that car, you'd be able to follow it and race. So hopefully we'll get some wet racing this year as well. And no longer the FIA waiting for dry tracks before we get going. Exactly, yeah. A lot more confined to the footprint of the actual car itself, rather than wide open and spreading out because the car is not generating all of its. So you can see here, yeah, look, more up, straight up behind the car. So much better. And for those of you saying, what is the car's... I mean, you can see it come around the corner there. Look how much smaller it looks. The wheels are slightly smaller. We spoke about this earlier. The wheels are slightly smaller. Just the car just looks so much more compact. So, love it. This year feels special. It's the beginning of a new era, plus you're a Lando fan. Yeah. Don't rule out McLaren. No one's been talking about McLaren. Got Mercedes engine in their car. Good aerodynamicists as well. Back-to-back Constructors champions. So, yeah. Do you think we saw better racing in 24 or 25? 2024, we saw better racing. Because the cars weren't as... finely tuned and finely developed. So in the last year of a regulation set, of course, the cars got quicker again, but on average by over a second than 2024. So that means that the cars are going faster. They're producing... The reason they've got more faster is because there's more performance on them and because the teams have figured out how to create more outwash than inwash, which creates performance. And that means that more dirty air is being displaced off of the cars. And while it provided us the best qualifying sessions I can ever remember in F1, for racing, not so much. Of course, as well, combined with the fact that Pirelli made tyres that obviously were quite conservative. We had a lot of relay track surfaces last year where the tyres just didn't degrade at all, so there was no opportunity for tyre offsets and strategy, so that we did get racing that way. But yeah, 2024 was better racing than 25. But then, I mean, even other than when you look at it, 2022 and 2023 did have good racing. It's just that, of course, Red Bull made such a dominant car, and in Max's hands, he was so much quicker than everyone else. I think 2023, when we looked at it, if you removed Max from the championship, it would have been an unbelievable season. It would have been so close. But that was how good Max was in that package with Red Bull. So yeah, those first couple of years, we did actually get some decent racing. But as time goes on with regulation sets, they're able to find ways, the designers, to create more dirty air, which finds performance. And this is the key that the FIA have here, is that they need to ensure and pinpoint and stop the designers and engineers this year, well, just in F1 in general moving forward, that is against the dirt, like creating more dirty air. That's what they need to try and stop. They didn't do that when it came to the last regs, and we just ended up getting obviously the largest, heaviest, biggest cars in F1 history and more dirty air than the end of 2021. So that was the whole purpose of the reintroduction of ground effect era, was to reduce the dirty air, and it just got way out of hand. And that's the FIA's fault, really, because they didn't curtail the designers of the teams from putting on these snazzy floor edges and rear wings and so forth in ways to find and create more downforce. And yeah, it just provided less good racing for us. But hopefully, they've learnt their lesson and they crack down on anything that can do as such in the coming years. The MotoGP circuits don't have braking zones. No, exactly. We need braking zones. Hey, Peter, you'll be tuning in for every race. Sky commentary is not your bag. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. That's one of the biggest compliments I get from you all, is that you use my commentary for, instead of like the available TV commentary that you have wherever you are in the world. So I appreciate it. Your question is, what decade would you say was the greatest F1 in my opinion? I'm mid-30s, so I remember watching F1 kind of... My early memories of properly vividly watching F1 was like late 1990s to now. I don't know, I grew up obviously with the screaming V10s, V8s, etc., and I would love to see those returned. That's maybe in the future at some point. Maybe if this sustainable fuel thing becomes a thing, but I don't know. I don't think the car manufacturers ever want to go down that route again. But I feel like maybe the end of the 2000s was a good... I think the end of the 2000s and start of the early 2010s was a good period of F1. The cars were a lot smaller. We did get some good racing. I mean, it wasn't perfect by any means, but the racing was... We had some very good dramatic championships. We had multiple race winners. And I have fond memories of those years. I think maybe from around... I think really after Schumacher retired from Ferrari, I think things really started to kind of pick up and get better. Because the Schumacher era, like obviously people look back on it fondly, but really it was quite boring. Like that car was so dominant that it would finish so far ahead. And I guess that's why Mika Hakkinen was also quite a bit of a fresh air, and why I like Mika Hakkinen and have fond memories of him, and he's one of my favourite drivers because I have vivid memories of him obviously going toe-to-toe with Schumacher. But I guess, yeah, probably like, what was it, 2006, 2016? Maybe, yeah, I think that's a good period of F1. I think that's a good period, yeah. I think it was a very positive period of F1 because even though Mercedes dominated the hybrid era, you still had the rivalry, the bitter rivalry of Rosberg and Lewis, and they tangled quite a few times, of course. So those were good years. 17 to 2020 was a bit meh. Sebastian Vettel kind of like Ferrari, a bit of a damp squib in the end, wasn't it, in their championship contentions. So yeah, that I feel like that's kind of a good period. But look, every season will have boring races. It's the same like any sport. You'll have some matches that will be boring and a whitewash, and then you'll have some that go down in history. And that's the case with F1 as well. And of course, there's less of them compared to other sports like football, tennis, cricket, or whatever sport you follow. And I get Liberty Media wanting to try and maximise their product and make every single race weekend entertaining, but sport doesn't ever play out that way. And sometimes you get a 0-0 draw. Sometimes you get a draw. And that's the case with Formula One. Not every race is going to be a banger, but you can do things to try and make sure that the majority of the season is like watchable, you know, and you're going to have some like it's still entertaining to an extent, but not every race is going to be a banger, and it makes you appreciate the ones that are more so. If every single race was a banger, then you'd probably eventually get bored of it to a certain extent. It sounds weird to say, but yeah, like when you get like a 4-all draw or a 3-all draw in football in the Premier League, like those are games you remember because that doesn't happen too often. But yeah, I'm positive about the way F1 is moving, and yeah, hopefully it continues. West Ham are going down this season. We'll see. I'm a bit more positive now after back-to-back wins. There's been a few positive changes in the team. The new coach that he's brought in seems to have done very well with the decision making, and we've moved on Lucas Paquetá as well. He's a bit of a liability, to be honest with you. So we'll see. The unreliability of the cars in the Schumacher era was the greatest, to a certain extent. Yes and no. But yeah, I mean, there definitely will be some reliability issues this year. 100%. Clearly, I never watched England versus Scotland. But guys, I think I'm going to call it there. We'll have one more watch of Ollie Bearman make his way. I just like how they just look so much more compact. I think the tyres being smaller really helps with that. And I am a big fan as well. Where is it? It's like this angle. I'm a big fan of like the rear wing being a bit more like upright. Like just the rear of the car just looks like it's more upright than flat like it was before. I like it. I like it. So this season we should see the silver plat behind me. That'd be absolutely amazing if we can achieve that. We're on the way to achieving that for sure. Yeah, it's gonna go there. It's gonna go there. So definitely. Every technical team is watching all these clips right now. Oh, 100%. Yeah, of course they are. But that's I think this and the Red Bull is probably my top 2 liveries. I do like the Red Bull one, which is this one. Their car isn't going to look anything like this, by the way. That rear wing is actually probably... I would say that rear wing is a bit more akin to what the 22 cars... the ground effect era cars look like. Do you not think? Let's move that over there. That looks quite... you know I just said the rear of the car looks like it's sitting up more. This looks like this render is a bit more what the ground effect era cars look like on the rear. So if you look at that, it's a bit more... I don't know, it just looks a bit more upright. So I'm intrigued to... This is their... They always like to chuck on some fake things to lead people astray when it comes to renders and so forth. So yeah, Red Bull no doubt have been analysing all these clips, analysing the Ferrari, the Mercedes, and yeah, we'll see what their car looks like when we get some pictures from the bushes this week. So Schumacher dominated, but there was still a good mix of drivers on the podium. Yeah, it's kind of similar to, I guess, what Max Verstappen was in 22 and 23. Behind him was really good, but he was so far ahead. Obviously, a lot of people's eyes and focus were on the championship, understandably. But yeah, well, guys, that was a good chat. Nice chat. I hope you guys are excited for this new season. Private test happens this week, 5 days ahead of us. Remember, not every team is participating every single day. They can only participate 3 days out of the 5. So not everyone is on track tomorrow. Williams aren't there at all. But yeah, there will be... If you want to keep up with reputable information, I would say follow Chris Medlands. Follow, is it Thomas Meyer on Twitter? Those 2 guys on Twitter. And follow John Noble, who's part of the race, former Autosport editor. And follow the race in general, to be honest with you, because they have reputable sources and they will... Yes, they could be a bit clickbaity with their videos. Maybe don't read too much into their videos. But they'll be the ones who'll be able to get the information. And, of course, Joe... Oh, I can't remember Joe's last name. What's Joe's last name? Does his green book. I can't remember Joe's last name. Sagway? I can't remember his name. But, yeah, there's only a few guys out there that you should really take... Saywood, Joe Saywood. There we go. I was close. Joe Saywood as well. Those are the guys who you should be following and listening to when it comes to reputable information. They've been around the paddock for years, gained sources, and anything that they report on has an element of truth to it. More of an element of truth to it than these repost pages, like these just these fan accounts and these clickbaity accounts who pick anything off of Reddit. As I've said before, try and pay little to no attention to anything until these cars hit the track, which is going to be this week. This is where I will now be paying attention properly to the information from those reputable sources of information, because these cars will be out on track and we'll start to hear the rumblings and grumblings of these gremlins and who is doing good, what is going well, what isn't going well. They're going to try and keep it private, but you can't keep things private like this in this day and age. And same will be the case for the Bahrain testing in a few weeks after that as well. I will try and go live maybe a couple of times this week to discuss some topics of conversation that have come up. I prefer going live than just recording a video, to be honest with you, because I get to interact with you all. And it's easier for me as well, so I don't have to edit and so forth. I can just wing it. But yeah, it's going to be... F1 season is fully underway now. Only 3 more cars. What time are the lives? If I go live, it will be in the UK evening time. So it'll be after 7 p.m. when little one is asleep. So that'll be when I will go live in the week, if I do go live. because, yeah, I work during the day. So, unfortunately, this isn't a full-time gig yet. In the future, it will be. We are on our way there. So, yeah. Thank you, guys. Enjoy your Sunday. And, yeah, we will catch you in the week because we're finally going to get to see these cars, albeit from the bushes, on track. Yay! Bye!